Hi guys! Hi everyone, my name is Dana and today we'll talk about word formation. For those of you who don't know me yet, a little bit about me. I'm a senior methodologist and teacher at the online school Учёба.ру. I graduated from MSLU, which is in Moscow, the Faculty of the English Language, and I also got 100 points for YEGA. But still, the most important thing to know about me is that I am in love with English and I love sharing my knowledge with everyone who listens, right? So I hope you're listening. Okay guys, and today I'm not alone. I'm with the online school Учёба.ру. We have 12,000 graduates and 4,200 students got 80 plus for YEGA and a 5 for OGE with us. I'm only one of many amazing teachers on every subject there is, so that's a great school, right? We also have guaranteed entrance to university and progress checks every month. You're writing a mock exam which looks exactly like YEGA, so that, well, you can practice and we can also see what you still need to learn and what you have already got. We have different level groups, which is very important for the studying of the English language, right? So that you can study at your own pace. Okay, and now to our topic, guys. First of all, one thing that is extremely important for tasks 25 through 29 is understanding the structure of the English sentence, right? And for that, we need to understand parts of speech, right? So it's not only about suffixes and prefixes, right? It's also about understanding how the sentence is structured and what you actually need to put into the sentence. So guys, this is some basic information about parts of speech. There are two types in English: content words and function words. The good news here is that in 25 through 29, you only need content words, right? So those are nouns, verbs, adverbs, and adjectives, right? Function words are not in these tasks, thank God, right? Okay, so guys, what are we going to do today? First, I'd like us to have a look at all the positions that each of our parts of speech can take in a sentence so that we can base our decision on facts and rules, right, of the English language, not our intuition or whatever else students usually base their decisions on. Okay, so the first thing, a noun. Let's start with those. If our gap is a subject, of course, we need a noun, right? So, guys, a subject can be, of course, in the first position, or it can be after there plus be. There is, there are, there was, there were, right? Let's have a look at a couple of examples here. Blah, 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 travel to California to watch wildlife and enjoy beautiful nature. We need to put the word foreign into the sentence. Well, we already know that our gap is a subject, right? So we need a noun. The only thing left to do is to form it correctly. I understand that this is about people, right? So I need foreigner, but I also need to remember that my noun can be plural. And in this case, that's what I need. How did I know that? Guys, we have the verb travel, right? This sentence is in present simple. It's just a fact. Foreigners travel to California to do something, to watch wildlife and blah, 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 right? And my verb doesn't have S at the end of it, so I need a plural subject, foreigners. And that's it, I got it. Moving on to our next example. There was blah, blah, blah for every student on that campus. Again, we need a subject, right? We have there was, so we need the actual subject here, right? Accommodate. There was for every student on that campus. I need a noun and I know how to form it. There was accommodation for every student on that campus. Guys, another very, very important thing to understand about well, not only nouns, but actually every word that you're writing, is that your spelling is also important, right? So if we skip, I don't know, one C or one M, we're not going to get a point that we want for this task. So please be sure to check your spelling, right? And, well, be confident in what you wrote. Why am I not talking about singular or plural nouns in this case? Well, because accommodation in this sense is uncountable, right? There was also tells me that, well, I would still need a singular noun if even if this word was countable, right? Because was is for singular subjects, right? So we got it, right? If our gap is a subject, we need a noun. Moving on. The gap is after an adjective, right? And guys, also very important to remember that there is no noun after our gap, right? If our gap is after an adjective, then we need a noun, because an adjective does what? It always describes a noun, right? So let's have a look at examples. The most impressive is the Peace Tower. We have the word construct. A noun from that is construction, right? We have an adjective, the adjective impressive, right? And that adjective describes our noun, construction. Okay, why did we need a singular noun? Because of is, right? Is for singular nouns. Okay, one more example. She had a rough, nobody really cared about her. Poor thing. Right, and we need to put child into the sentence. Child is already a noun, right? But not to worry, we have another one, right? We're talking about a time period in someone's life, not about a person. So she had a rough childhood, right? That's a time period in which you are a child. She had a rough childhood. Nobody, right? Okay. Nobody really cared about her. Why one? Well, first of all, we have a here, right? So she had a rough childhood. A speaks to a singular noun. We can't use it with plural nouns, right? And we got it. Here, rough describes our noun childhood. Okay, moving on to another one. The gap is after a noun in possessive case or after a possessive pronoun, right? So, if we have possession in the sentence, we definitely need a noun, right? To say what belongs to somebody. In our example, this is my daughter's. Of course, after daughters, right, something belongs to my daughter, we need a noun. We need to put the word collect into the sentence. Let's do that. Collect, collection, right? And again, why do we need a singular noun? Because this is my daughter's collection, right? So guys, I think what I'm getting here at is that you need to notice everything in the sentence, right? Not only the gap, but also everything around it, right? To understand what part of speech you need, and also like everything in your sentence to understand like in what form to put it, right? With nouns, it's singular or plural, right? With adjectives, it would be negative or positive. We'll get to adjectives. Okay, another example. You must sign our if you want to participate. Our is a possessive pronoun, right, which always describes a noun. So we need a noun from agree, which is agreement. All right, we got it. Guys, I'm putting everything into the right form here very easily because, well, I've been studying English for a very, very long time. But at our year-long course, of course, we have lots of lessons on all the suffixes and prefixes that you can add to to two words, right, to form other words. So not to worry. I think we will also take a couple of streams on YouTube on that topic as well. Okay, moving on. More about nouns. If a noun is after a numeral and there is no noun after the gap, we also need a noun, right? If we have a number, of course, we need to say like what that number speaks about, right? What it describes. So in our example here, more than 5,000 visited Moscow during the holidays. More than 5,000 who, right? We need a person. And of course, we're thinking about singular or plural. 5,000, definitely plural, right? So 5,000 tourists visited Moscow during the holidays. Okay, guys, again, our number always describes a noun, right? If we had a noun right here after the gap, then, well, we could have some options, right? For example, we could put an adjective here, but we don't, so we need a noun. Okay, and one more. The gap is after an article. Of course, articles always determine nouns, right? So if we have the, like here in our example, and we don't have a noun after the gap, then we need a noun. Nowadays, globalization influences the development of languages. All right, here we go. Guys, why am I always saying if there is no noun after the gap? Well, because if there is a noun after the gap, then our article would describe that noun after the gap. And between an article and a noun, we can only have an adjective, right? So really important to notice what we have before the gap and after it as well, right? Okay. The last thing about a noun, right? The last position. The painting evokes such emotions as sympathy and. Guys, these constructions, sympathy and, ice cream and, those are coordinate groups, right? Однородные члены предложения. So, of course, members of a coordinate group are always the same part of speech. So here we have sympathy, which is a noun, and we need another noun. Kind, kindness. All right. The painting evokes such emotions as sympathy and kindness. All right, guys, and now let's focus on nouns being singular or plural. How do we know which one we need? We always look for markers, right? If we have an article a, that means you need a singular noun because you can't use a with plural nouns. Some, many, one of the always mean you need a plural noun because, well, just logically, right? Just like with numbers, if we have 5,000, of course we need a plural noun. One of the gives students lots of troubles. I'm not sure why, because actually it's very logical to use a plural noun after one of the, but for some reason you're just not thinking sometimes, and well, I encourage you to do so, to think. One of one doesn't make any sense, but one of many does, right? So one of the tourists, one of the visitors, and so on. Always a plural noun after one of the. Okay, next, demonstrative pronouns can help us a lot, right? So if we have this or that, we need a singular noun because those pronouns are singular. And after these or those, we need a plural noun. Verb forms. Those are, well, the best determiners actually, because if you have s at the end of the verb in present simple, you definitely need a singular noun, right? Because we only add s to verbs with he, she, or it, right? All of those are singular. And if you don't, like in the second example here, do, we need a plural noun, of course, right? We could also have, I don't know, present perfect in the sentence, yeah, and then have or has will help you. So verb forms are very important to notice in 25 through 29 if you need a noun, if you need to form a noun in your gap. All right, if you don't have any questions about nouns, we can move on to verbs. So guys, we've talked about a subject, right? If we have a gap in the position of a subject, we need a noun. But if we have a gap in the position of a predicate, if the gap is after a subject and plays that role of the predicate, we need a verb, right? Let's have a look at an example. This disease, all animals. We have disease as a sorry about that. Okay, I cannot draw a straight line, guys. Sorry. Okay. Almost got it, right? Okay, so this is our subject and we need a predicate. Whew, okay, can I do this? Let's try it. 1 and 2. Close enough, right? Okay, our gap is the predicate, so we need to form a verb. A verb from week is weaken, right? But again, we need to think about the form itself. This sentence is in present simple, right? It's just a fact about this disease, and disease is it. So we need to add s to the verb. This disease weakens all animals. To be honest with you, usually in 25 through 29, they don't want to check your knowledge of, I don't know, tenses and grammar in that way. So usually they have like an infinitive here or a simple tense like present simple or past simple or something like that, right? So don't think about tenses too much here. We have 19 through 24 for that, right? Okay, moving on. The gap is after let's or at the beginning of other imperative sentences. Guys, after let's, we always need a verb, right? And at the beginning of imperative sentences as well, right? The subject there is implied. We don't say you sit, right? We just say sit down, please, right? And you is implied there. We don't say it. So at the beginning of imperative sentences, we always need verbs, right? Let's have a look at example. At the example. Before the king, said Thomas. And we need to put the word knee into the sentence. Guys, knee is part of our body, right? A part of our leg. So in the picture here, you can see the action of kneeling. So the verb from knee is kneel. Kneel before the king, said Thomas, right? Verbs are sometimes quite hard to form for students, so we pay special attention to it during our course. Let's move on. The gap is after an auxiliary verb. Of course, after an auxiliary, we need a verb, right? Because auxiliary verbs don't really work without their meaning verbs. So let's have a look at the example. The clinic doesn't on such cases. We need to put special into the sentence. As here we got two options on how to form this verb. We can say specialize, or we can say specialize. All right, both options will be accepted by the computer because one is American and the other British. So all the verbs, I don't want to say all of them because, you know, English loves exceptions, but a lot of verbs formed with IZE or ISE can be formed both ways, right? Just one option is going to be British and the other one American. And guys, doesn't is our auxiliary here, right? Of course, after auxiliary verbs, we need a meaning verb, so that's why we put special into we made special into the verb. Okay, moving on. The gap is after the particle to, right? Okay, so the most difficult thing here is to understand if your to is a particle or a preposition or whatever, right? You will learn how to do that, especially when we study infinitives, right? Let's have a look at the example. It was lit in 1966 to the centenary of the Canadian Confederation. And we need to put the verb symbol into the sentence. In this case, by the way, it's not a particle. It was lit in 1966 to do what? This is a short version of the preposition in order to, right? But we still need a verb. So let's put it here. To symbolize. Right? And again, symbolize can be with I-Z-E or it can be with I-S-E. Both will be accepted by the computer because, again, one is British, the other one American, with Z, an American version, and with S, the British version. Okay. No questions about the verbs, so we're moving on to adjectives and adverbs, guys. The most important thing to understand about adjectives and adverbs in 25 through 29 is, well, the differences between them. And here in the slide, you can see those. So if our gap is after the verbs be, look, smell, and taste, and all the other sense verbs, we need an adjective. Let's have a look at the example. The tower looks at night. Amaze, amazing, right? Our gap here describes the verb. The verb looks. The tower looks how? It looks amazing, right? Usually, when our gap describes a verb, we need an adverb, but not with sense verbs. Be, look, smell, taste, all of those need an adjective. And guys, here I'd like to draw your attention to the fact that if you're used to completing these exercises by translating sentences, you are going to make a mistake here, right? Because if we translate this into Russian, we would need an adverb, right? But I cannot get tired of saying that English and Russian languages are very different, right? So please don't base your decision on translation. That is not a good idea in 25 through 29. Well, it's actually never a good idea if you ask me, but in this case, in these tasks, it will lead to mistakes. So please base your decisions on the positions that your gap takes, right? On the rules of the structure of the English sentence and not the Russian ones, right? Okay, and an adverb, right? Before or after all other verbs, meaning not sense verbs, right? And describes that verb. Let's have a look at examples. It is a 720-hectare preserve where animals walk. How? They walk freely, right? Walk is not a sense verb, so we need an adverb. Another one. In summer, Millennium Park hosts free concerts at lunchtime and at 6:30 p.m. So here our gap describes the verb hosts, right? Millennium Park hosts free concerts. How? Officially, right? Again, host is not a sense verb, so we need an adverb here, right? Again, guys, if our gap is after a verb, we need to understand if our verb is a sense verb or not. After be, look, smell, and taste, we need an adjective. And after all other verbs, if they're not sense verbs, we need an adverb. If our gap is before a verb, that's usually an adverb, right? Nothing else can describe a verb but an adverb. Okay, moving on. Focusing on the adjectives here, guys. The gap is after an article and before a noun. We have already mentioned this, guys, right? If after our gap we have a noun and before we have an article, then there is nothing else that we can put into the gap. right? Because only an adjective can describe our noun. It's such a beautiful city, right? Okay. It's such a beautiful city. Okay, and if our gap is after another adjective and before a noun. Again, nothing else can be there, right? If we have an adjective, gap, noun, there is only an adjective that we can put in. It means that, well, there are two adjectives that describe our noun in this case. It was made of a strange metallic material, right? So here we have two adjectives describing the word material. One strange that we already had in the task, and the other one we put in that also describes our noun. Okay, moving on. Now adverbs, guys. Wait, okay, sorry, this is so ugly. Adverb. The gap is before an adjective and describes it. Guys, nothing else can describe an adjective, right? So if our gap describes our adjective, she is beautiful. How? Absolutely. We need an adverb. She is absolutely beautiful. Beautiful how? Absolutely. Okay, and also adverbs can describe whole sentences, right? So if the gap is at the beginning of a sentence and is used as an introductory word, which describes the whole sentence, we need an adverb. African languages have no native word for snow. How? Naturally, right? Naturally, African languages have no native word for snow. Why is it so natural? Well, because it rarely snows in Africa, right? Guys, that's it about adverbs. And I guess we're ready to try this ourselves, right? Let's do it. So here we have 25 through 27, and we are going to put all of these words into the sentences correctly. All right, let's analyze them. Hawaii is one of the most places in the world to get a clear view of the night sky. We have the most, which is part of a superlative degree, right? We have places after the gap, which is a noun. So our gap describes a noun, which means we need an adjective. Hawaii is one of the most fascinating places in the world. Okay, 26. This is because of the island's setting. We have a noun in possessive case, right? But we also have a noun after our gap. So, island's setting. And our gap describes a noun. Again, we need an adjective. Geography, adjective, geographical. Here we go. Got it. Okay, 27. Because it is a area in the middle of the ocean. We have an article, but then after the gap, we have a noun. Right? So, the only thing that we can put here is an adjective, right? That's the only thing that can be between a noun and an article. Mountainous. That's the adjective we're looking for. Here we go. Mountainous. All right? Are we ready to try one more? Here we go. Monarchy. All right, the word is fortunate and it's at the beginning of a sentence. So I'm thinking it's an adverb, but still, let's check. Tourists are allowed to go to the top of the volcano known as Monarchy, where the view is even more impressive. All right, tourists are allowed to go blah, blah, blah. How? We have fortunate, which is an adjective, and we need an adverb. fortunately. Fortunately, tourists are allowed. Okay, 26. The volcano rises to a of over 4,000 meters and gives visitors an uninterrupted view of the night sky. We have an article and no noun after the gap. So our gap needs to be a noun. High is an adjective. We need a noun, which is height. The volcano rises to a height of over 4,000 meters. Okay, moving on to 27. It is also the for the world's most powerful telescopes. Again, we have an article and no noun after the gap. So our gap is a noun. Locate, location. We got it, right? Moving on. Right, 25 through 29 are sometimes about people, right, about popular, outstanding people. So today we're talking about Alexei Savrasov, right? He is an outstanding Russian painter. He is considered to be we have an article here, no noun after the gap. So what do we need? Right, we need a noun. He is considered to be the creator of the lyrical landscape style, right? OR is a very popular suffix to use to form a noun which describes a person. Okay, 26. He became interested in painting very early and tried styles and techniques. Right, so we have a noun after the gap, right? So our gap describes that noun. We need an adjective to describe a noun, which is various. He tried various styles and techniques. He graduated from the Moscow School of Painting, Sculpture, and Architecture in 1850 and began to in landscape painting. Right. He began to. After begin, we need an infinitive, so that's a particle to, and began to specialize. Right, we need a verb after the particle to. Specialize. Wait. Right. My computer is suggesting two options, and my computer is absolutely correct, right? We can write specialize with S at the end or with Z. SE or ZE at the end, right? Both will be accepted because both are correct, just in different variants of the English language. Okay, and the last part of the same text, blah, 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 Savrasov sank into depression after some tragic events in his personal life. We have fortunate, and our gap is at the beginning of the sentence. So what? Fortunately, right? We need an adverb at the beginning of the sentence. But guys, we also need to think about the meaning, right? Here, fortunately, sounds, well, at least weird, right? So we need the opposite of fortunately, right? Which is unfortunately, right? That's what I was talking about when I said that you need to understand the context, right? Savrasov sank into depression cannot be good news, right? So we need unfortunately, not fortunately. Okay, and last one here. His work suffered and he spent the last years of his life in poverty. Still, we admire his works and will never forget him. Right, so our gap is after a verb, suffered, and it describes it. His work suffered. How? We need an adverb because suffered is not a sense verb, so the adverb is dramatically. His work suffered dramatically. Okay, got another one, guys. Moving on. Whistler. Right, let's read the first one. Have you ever been to Whistler? It's just a 2-hour drive from Vancouver and is a ski resort. We have a noun after the gap. and an article before it. So the only thing that can separate an article and a noun is an adjective. We need the adjective famous here. Okay, 26. Whistler has always been a important winter sports area. Okay, we have an article, important winter sports area. That article defines our noun area. After the gap, we have an adjective. Adjective. Right? So our gap describes an adjective. What can describe an adjective? Only an adverb. So, Whistler has always been a really important winter sports area. Right? A lot of things could go wrong here, but we looked at the sentence part by part, right? Word by word, and we got it. Okay, 27. Recently, it has also gained as a summer destination for golf and mountain biking. It has also gained something as a summer destination, right? After gained, we need an object, which means we need a noun here. Popularity. Oi, sorry about that. Popularity. Here we go. Right? It has also gained what? It has gained popularity as a summer destination for golf and mountain biking. Got it. The next part, same text. So, in Whistler, can enjoy a lively town atmosphere throughout the year. Okay, we have can enjoy as a predicate, but we don't have a subject, right? So we need a noun for our gap as a subject. So in Whistler, tourist, but, right, my computer is smarter than us again, right? And of course we need tourists. Why? Because we don't have an article before our gap, right? If we wanted a singular noun here, we would have a tourist, right? We would have a tourist, right? But no article, a singular countable noun cannot stand without an article a, so we need a plural noun. Plural countable nouns can stand alone. Okay, and 29. The village gained attention in 2010 when it became one of the locations for the 2010 Winter Olympic Games. Okay, we have a noun after the gap, which means we need an adjective, right, to describe that noun. The village gained attention. What kind of attention? We already have an adjective in the task, so what? The opposite of national? Not really, right? Olympic Games don't happen only in one country. So, guys, this is another prefix. We need international, right? National means in your own country, and international means in other countries as well, right? So the village gained international attention. Somebody else from other countries learned about this village. We got it. Okay, one more. Signal Hill. Do you know about Signal Hill? This. A demonstrative pronoun here, singular one. Let's, place, a noun after the gap, so we don't need a noun, is located in Canada at the entrance of St. John's Harbour. We need to put the word beauty into the sentence. This place, well, of course, we need to describe our place, right? And to do that, to describe a noun, we need an adjective. Beautiful. This beautiful place is located in Canada. Okay, 26. This is an important historical of Canada. Okay, so guys, before an adjective or before a gap, before our gap, we have adjective, adjective, important and historical. But we don't have a noun, right? So these two adjectives describe our one noun, lucky noun, attraction. This is an important historical attraction of Canada. Okay, 27. It was here in 1901 that the first wireless transatlantic signal was received. Okay, we have a verb, be, and an adverb here. What does our gap describe? It was here. Well, we can actually try a life hack here. We can try to read the sentence without the gap, right, at all, and see if it makes sense. It was here in 1901 that the first wireless blah 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 was received. Yeah, that makes sense, right? If that makes sense, then probably we need an adverb, right? And that actually is true, because here we need to describe the adverb here. It was here. How? Exactly here, right? So the only thing we can put here is an adverb, guys. It was exactly here in 1901, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the last part of it. The Cabo Tower is one of the key of Signal Hill. We have a preposition after the gap and an adjective before it. So the only thing an adjective can describe is a noun, right? Building. But we have a construction, one of the, before our adjective. So what kind of a noun we need? Of course, a plural one, right? The Cabo Tower is one of the buildings, right? Not one of the one building. Yeah, doesn't make any sense, so we need a plural noun here. Okay, it was constructed in 1897 to the 400th anniversary of the discovery of Newfoundland. Right, again, here we have that short version of the preposition in order to, right? It was constructed to do what? We need a verb here. It was constructed to symbolize. Again, symbolize with ZE at the end or SE at the end. Both are absolutely fine. All right, now you know everything about parts of speech for 25 through 29 and also for your writing and speaking skills, right? The rules of the structure, right, of the English sentence are important not only for these tasks, but also for like your general knowledge of English, right, for speaking and for writing. So at the exam, this will definitely be very, very useful. Okay, guys, let's have a look at some Russian part of our stream. В нашей школе можно подготовиться к ЕГЭ по английскому языку и по другим предметам. 8 месяцев подготовки включает в себя 70 уроков. Это и лекции, и семинары. На семинарах у вас всегда есть огромное количество практики. Да? Вот сегодня мы посмотрели на 4, кажется, текста. Гораздо больше, конечно, на живых семинарах, где вы вместе с преподавателем разбираете все обычные кейсы и необычные кейсы, применяете те лайфхаки, о которых узнали в лекциях. Можете также задать все свои вопросы, услышать на них ответы, конечно, и пообщаться с одногруппниками. Занятия проводятся 2 раза в неделю, плюс у нас есть разговорный клуб. Да, это отдельное занятие в неделю, то есть третье, да, разговорный клуб — это очень важный урок, на котором вы развиваете свои speaking skills, да. Наши speaking skills нужны нам не только для жизни, да, для, в принципе, для хорошего владения английским языком, но и для экзамена тоже. У нас есть устная часть в экзамене, 4 задания, которые дают нам 20 первичных баллов. Кажется абсолютно очевидным, что без speaking skills сдать этот экзамен на достойный балл очень сложно. Поэтому разговорный клуб приветствует вас, очень ждем в нем обязательно всех. Кроме уроков у нас также есть домашние задания. 30-35 домашних заданий за 8 месяцев, то есть каждому уроку у вас всегда есть домашнее задание, в котором вы можете закрепить всю теорию, плюс, конечно, отработать на практике все задания из ЕГЭ и, ну, не только из ЕГЭ. Да, все-таки учить английский только для экзамена мне кажется грустным, вот, поэтому мы развиваем, конечно, навыки владения английским языком в первую очередь. Пробный ЕГЭ у нас проходит ежемесячно, чтобы вы могли оценить свой уровень на текущий момент, и мы тоже могли оценить, чтобы мы поняли, где еще есть пробелы в ваших знаниях, дали вам дополнительную практику, может быть, порекомендовали пересмотреть какие-то лекции. Лекции всегда можно пересматривать на нашей интерактивной платформе, они все записываются и в вашем доступе. Подробная проверка заданий с развернутым ответом. Тоже очень важно во всех домашних заданиях с развернутым ответом, а также, конечно, в ежемесячных пробниках вы всегда пишете email, вы всегда пишете 38-е задание, письменное высказывание, и также устную часть. Ко всем этим заданиям вы всегда получаете развернутую обратную связь со всеми рекомендациями, с тем, что было не так, где вы потеряли баллы, что можно было сделать лучше. Очень важно для подготовки к ЕГЭ. Без понимания, что не так, очень сложно сделать лучше. Поэтому преподаватели всегда дают очень подробную обратную связь по всем вашим развернутым ответам. Интерактивная платформа для подготовки. Конечно же, в современном мире не очень хочется сидеть над черно-белым учебником, поэтому наша платформа красивая, интерактивная, там можно все тыкать, записывать аудио прямо на страничке. Очень клевая, очень советую. Удобное расписание и список дел. Конечно же, для 11-классников, вообще для школьников в наше время очень важно иметь какое-то структурированное расписание, потому что иначе, мне кажется, что вы просто не будете успевать абсолютно ничего, потому что дел очень много, времени, наоборот, довольно мало. Вот, поэтому в своем профиле на нашей платформе у вас всегда есть вот такое ежедневный список дел, что вам нужно сделать, что вы вдруг пропустили, где забыли и так далее. Про интерактивные уроки сказала. Примерно вот так это выглядит с телефона. На скриншоте здесь. Это урок по русскому языку. Домашки с быстрой проверкой. Да, рассказала про подробную обратную связь по развернутым ответам, но забыла рассказать про то, что в коротких ответах, где вам нужно выбрать какой-то ответ, вы сразу же получаете обратную связь, быструю проверку, да, то есть платформа сама проверяет, правильно вы сказали что-то или нет, и если нет, да, на самом деле, даже если да, то вы всегда видите объяснение, да, вот здесь это называется решение, почему. Да, вот это задание на биологию, поэтому я ничего не понимаю, но в английском у вас всегда тоже есть объяснение, почему ваш вариант неправильный, а какой-то другой правильный. Да? Мы стараемся очень подробно в объяснениях дублировать все правила, исключения, логику мысли, которая должна была привести вас к правильному ответу. Нам кажется, это тоже очень важным. Да, но про практические семинары тоже рассказала, на них всегда большое количество практики. Конечно, и кусочки ревижена теории, повторения теории тоже есть на семинарах. Если вы что-то вдруг забываете с момента лекции до семинара, то, конечно же, преподаватель вам всегда напоминает слайдиками, да, про эту теорию. И здесь отличный шанс закрепить эту теорию на практике, потому что экзамен все-таки у нас практический. Про ежемесячные пробники рассказала, вот тут можно посмотреть, как это обычно выглядит. Да, то есть в конце вы получаете вот такую простынку со всеми вашими правильными и неправильными ответами. Там, где горит слово «проверяем», это значит, что это задание с развернутым ответом, и оно ушло на проверку к живому преподавателю. Затем вы, конечно же, получаете здесь же, на этой же платформе, весь свой фидбэк, все комментарии и рекомендации по этим заданиям с развернутым ответом. Удобные чаты с преподавателями. Конечно, всем нам всегда в любой момент можно написать с любым вопросом, если что-то осталось непонятно после лекции, или вы встретили что-то просто в жизни и захотели разобраться с тем, что это, не знаю, за грамматическая конструкция или за интересное такое слово. Мы всегда очень рады отвечать на вопросы и помогать разбираться в сложных темах. Система уведомлений, да, она, наверное, к тому же, к чему я говорила про расписание, да, времени мало, задач очень много, мы это все отлично понимаем, поэтому разработали для вас напоминание. Если вы вдруг опаздываете на семинар, вам обязательно придет об этом уведомление, чтобы вы ничего не пропустили. Ребята, сегодня последний день, буквально несколько часов осталось до конца Черной пятницы. Сегодня последний день, когда вы можете получить скидку до 60% на подготовку с нами к экзаменам, к ЕГЭ и к ОГЭ. Мы готовим к обоим экзаменам по всем предметам. Также вы можете получить один из бонусов. Бесплатный месяц обучения, или 3-й предмет в подарок, или 3 индивидуальных занятия с преподавателем, или курс по итоговому сочинению, или консультацию по профориентации. Ребят, все бонусы абсолютно замечательные и очень полезные, поэтому советую участвовать в Черной пятнице. Мне кажется, замечательная возможность сэкономить и получить качественную подготовку к экзаменам. Ждем вас, всех вас, на занятиях в онлайн-школе. Пожалуйста, не забывайте ставить лайк и подписываться на наш канал. Вам будет приятно, потому что вы будете видеть наши обновления, а нам будет приятно просто эмоционально, а еще потому что YouTube будет относиться к нам благосклоннее. Спасибо за внимание сегодня. Thank you so much for being with me here, and I will see you when I see you. Have a nice evening, guys.